Recorded. I was just
Yeah,
trying
well,
to point
that's
that
your
out.
job to hit
I'm
record.
sorry. We're talking about yeast.
Yeah.
We're talking about yeast and breads.
Yeast.
I can go back to it that there's a remarkable granary in Scottsbluff County that I just found out about in Hull.
Yeah, and I just wrote down the name of it so I can go do some research, and
Yeah, because that'd be a fun story.
that would be a fun story. And after
very
I
fun
sent you
story.
that list, it would probably be March before we got to write it.
That's okay.
Because that list was my idea of how things would take us right up through into March.
Yeah, this is great. Yeah.
And this thing here, I have a whole bunch of these lighters, and I don't know how to refill them. And
Yeah,
I
special fuel.
yeah, I asked somebody how to do it, and I don't remember where I asked the person, but they were like, "Oh, you just buy whatever." So I'm just gonna end up recycling it because I don't know how to refill a lighter, and it's
Or like those crack torch lighters is what we used to call them.
yeah,
Doesn't work.
doesn't work because I used all the fuel.
Yeah, that'd be the reason.
That's why I need it refilled. Oh gosh. Oh, and also I thought we would start, even though this episode is going to go out in a few weeks. I'm pretty angry and made a post on the Nebraska subreddit, and I got to walk away before I get too deep in it. But I don't know if you saw the thing about Chance Engelbrecht. Is that how you say his last name?
Yeah. What? No, I didn't. I didn't know anything about it.
So supposedly, and I say supposedly because this crap isn't confirmed. There was a post from a website that was like 7 sentences long. Said yes, it's his remains, and the family said in their Facebook post that they heard from unofficially that officially the remains were his that were found. And so, of course, I'm like, what? Because the entire article is 7 sentences and doesn't make any sense. So I go to KNEB and I read their story. I didn't do Star Herald because I don't have time to spend 20 minutes bypassing a paywall every time I want to read an article there, and it's not often enough to make it worth my while to pay for access. So KNEB, I go to KNEB, and they essentially said their article was longer. They even said they tried to get in touch with the Gearing police, and they hadn't called them back as of the time they posted it. But that, I guess, some family members were talking to the Gearing cops when some other family members saw something online that some official said, yes, it's his remains, but it's not been officially posted and no one officially has said anything, but the family ran with it and then posted it on that Find Chance Facebook page. Mm-hmm. And so everybody's treating it as if it's legit, it's real, that's his remains. Now that may turn out to be true, but
the word's not out yet.
It's not official, and it shouldn't be out there. That's considered rumor and gossip.
Yeah.
And when
this town's full of that.
Yeah. And when I worked at the paper, you would not do that because you can't get any confirmation. And the person who did write the Star Herald article, because I saw the headline and who wrote it, and that's about all you can read, and you can't get to the story without paying. That person didn't see where anything was wrong, where, oh, I saw Connor posted this on Facebook, so it must be true, and would run with it. And we were constantly saying to this person, no, that's not how this goes. And everybody on the Nebraska subreddit and all throughout Reddit whine and complain all the time about the rumor mill, and you need to wait until we have all the facts before you start throwing crap out there. So I made a comment in the Nebraska subreddit, and I've been trying to stay off of Reddit. And I'm like, but everybody wants to get hits and clicks. And the person who made that post responded and was like, I wasn't doing it for internet karma. And I'm like, but your article literally says nothing. So, yeah, you were. And then before I hit save on the reply, I just deleted everything and walked away, because that's extremely frustrating. And I think it's the state attorney general, I forget who the official is, was going to make an announcement tomorrow. And by the time this comes out, it will be last month.
So we'll know.
So we'll know for sure. And it may very well be that the remains were identified as his. But y'all are jumping the gun so that you can beat somebody to the chase. And if you were going to do that, I would have rather they had done it to the K&EB story, because at least the K&EB story said, look, this is what's going on. It's rumor. It's not confirmed. The official press conference isn't till tomorrow. I still don't.
It's just the news nowadays. It's
yeah.
like a newscast. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I got all the information about this school shooting, that school shooting, or this or that, or this massacre, or this, and then it turns out later is completely wrong or over elaborated or under elaborated. It's like it was much worse than it was supposed to be, and vice versa. Yeah.
Yep. And when I worked at the paper, I used to argue with this particular person all the time. Don't send me out on breaking news, because I'm not going to give you any information unless I can verify it. So sometimes my fire story was, the house was on fire when I got there, and here's what the firemen did to put it out.
I'm not on fire.
Yeah.
Firemen put out fire on said house.
And I'm not going to speculate as to where it started, what room it started, how much damage there is, because they don't know in that instant. And I'm not going to do. So I was like, then don't send me out on breaking news.
And and I think the reason newscasters do that, I have a feeling, is because if they left it on, well, we'll discover it later, our audience isn't going to be around to figure it out later. Because I'm like that. I figure that a lot of times there'd be like a murder or something that happened recently, just a week ago, and I won't hear nothing about it till 2 months later about the conclusion of said murder, because I won't pay attention to it.
Yeah.
So I think that's like the newscaster's greatest fear. It's like, well, we got to get out, got to spit out as much as we can right now before we leave them on a hook, because once we leave them on a hook, they're not going to be interested anymore.
And there was also a post in the Formula One subreddit today, because that, I don't want to say Formula One's my life, but I'm very interested in it. And I'll read the post headlines before I click on anything. And the race was 2 days ago, and there's been like 19 posts on this one specific topic. And everybody is like, how many more are we going to have? And everyone is thankful there's another race in 4 days, so that this crap will stop. But it's annoying because every media outlet has their take on it. And then, you posted it yesterday from, media outlet X. And then today I post from media outlet X. And it's ridiculous. And normally Tuesday, which is 2 days after the race, is enough time for that crap to settle down, and it just hasn't this time. And it's annoying. And for people on Reddit, most of the time it is for their little karma points. And I've had my Reddit account is an adult. It will be in September. It turned 19. And I have far less karma on there than people who have accounts for 3 or 4 months.
I don't even know what that is.
Basically,
I'm younger than you, and I don't even know what that is.
Okay, so if you make a post on Reddit and people upvote it, they call it karma.
Oh, so it's like likes on Facebook.
Yeah, gotcha. But it's like before Facebook. But anyway,
whoever's judging.
And then when you make a comment on a post, it's similar. You can give it a up or a down. Whereas I guess Facebook, you can't vote down. You can only vote up, right? I don't know. I don't do Facebook. But anyway,
I say my votes for what matters.
Yeah, and I rarely post links unless I think it's something genuinely that I think people would be interested in looking at and reading. And I comment less and less and less because it's just aggravating, and I just don't care to do that anymore.
Like, she almost missed the void of the 90s, right?
Yeah.
Before you could do any of that.
Yeah.
Your Formula One was just on a radio or your TV if you're lucky.
ABC's Worldwide of Sports.
You just scream at the void.
Yes.
That's your empty room in your house. No one to talk to. Unless you're one of those bar junkies that went to places like that, which I don't. As a kid, I didn't know many that did Formula One.
Yeah.
So I didn't know, it's like football, forget about it. But like, go to a bar and everyone's screaming about Formula One.
No. And I got into Formula One in '99, and before that, it was ABC's Wide World of Sports, whatever it was, and it was basically 2 hours, I think, on a Saturday afternoon, and it had recaps of, like the Formula One race, the World Jiu-Jitsu Championship. It was like different sports around the world, and here's just a summary of it, and that's all you could get. And then in '99, a friend introduced me to, and I was aware of Formula One. I just wasn't that interested in it because I couldn't get access to it. And in '99, a friend invited me over to his house, and Paul and I went over and we watched the race, and you could get it on TV. You could get it on cable on the Speed TV channel. And so we we hooked it up, and then they went to NBC, and it sucked on NBC, and I went to a pirate stream for a very, very long time, and now you can get it legitimately, because it went off of NBC eventually, and I want to say there was like a 10-year drought where you couldn't get it on US TV at all, so I went to a pirate stream, and now you can get it legitimately. So now they're in a little weird area because F1 TV just sold their licensing rights to Apple TV, so you can't technically buy the rights for 2026 yet, or not buy the rights. Apple bought the rights. You can't buy a subscription yet to it. That's coming sometime in December, which is when this episode's going to go out. So maybe you can by the time you see it. But anyway, that's neither here nor there, and we've spent 12 minutes talking about not our episode, but it sort of relates to our episode because I'll get to that in a second. So here on Storytelling on the Plains, it's very easy for us to get drawn into the big names in the history of Western Nebraska. But if you aren't related to the little guys, you probably don't know anything about them. And I'm almost guaranteeing that when we start this, Connor, you had no idea who this guy was till I emailed you this yesterday, and you grew up in Scotts Bluff. And sometimes there's a ton of information about somebody, even if I hadn't heard about them before, and sometimes there's not a lot. And there isn't a lot about this guy. And so to relate it back to the whole stuff with Chance, I'm not going to make up stuff when I can't find that much information. And I'm not going to really try to speculate when there's not that much information about the guy. So it's this'll be, I don't know. We ramble, so it might be our usual length of episode. Who knows? But I was perusing, a history of Western Nebraska and its people, and I have a list now of 10 people that were well known at the time that they lived there, and nobody knows who they are now. So, like in 100 years, someone's going to look in the archives of the Star-Herald and see my name. Or I intend on leaving all my photographs to the Legacy of the Plains Museum. And so theoretically my name would be on any picture that they put up. But in 100 years, no one's really going to know who I am. And maybe someone will do some research on that and they'll be able to find out who I am. But if you ask folks my age and older right now who read newspapers or who did read newspapers, they probably recognize my name and they know my work. I would say even 50 years from now, people won't know who I am. So when I stumbled across this guy, his name is Jefferson Davis Fugate. And so two things popped out to me, and I couldn't find any information about relations to anybody. So Fugate, I don't know if you even know who Charlie Starkweather is. Okay, so Charlie Starkweather and his girlfriend Carol Fugate had a murder spree across Nebraska. Okay. In the 50s, Charlie was executed, and I believe Carol got out maybe 10 years ago. I actually worked with a guy at UNLPD who went to high school with Charlie. And so, again, you're old enough. I'm not excusing any of his murders, but he's more well known on the eastern part of the state. But they did catch him in Wyoming, and he spent the night in the Scottsbluff County Jail at the time. Okay. So when I saw the name Fugate, and he's living here in Nebraska, I'm like, oh, wonder if he's related. Couldn't find anything to that. And Jefferson Davis was the president of the Confederate States of America during the Civil War, and the only president of the Confederate States of America. Again, couldn't find anything to do with that, but when we get to his birth date, you might understand why he was named Jefferson Davis. There was also, ironically, more than one Jefferson Davis Fugate. Anyway, when I started reading in a history of Western Nebraska and its people, and who he was and what he did, I was like, I want to talk about this dude. Mm-hmm. So I did. I wrote down what I could find, and that's what we're sharing with you today. So outside of Grant Shumway's book, A History of Western Nebraska People, the Find a Grave website is the only other place I could find any information about him.
Hey, it's something.
It's something. So we're going to talk about what I found out about Jefferson, and hopefully maybe someone will be interested. Maybe someone's related to him and has more information than we do, or someone else can research it. Like when I went and listened to Jerry give his talk on Empire, Nebraska, and he was talking about Hope, Nebraska, and we all know it existed, but finding information is near impossible. So I am hoping for February to have something on it, but he gave me this 2-volume set of that the I believe 2 women wrote the book. I know one of them was a woman. I just can't remember the authors' names because my brain doesn't work that way. But they're thick. What is that? That like 2-3 inches?
Yeah.
So
looks like a good thick
it's
volume.
2 volumes, and they're both that thick.
Oh, okay.
So I haven't had a chance to look through them yet, but
and it's about Hope and Empire, or just
Empire?
No,
it's about the Black history of Western Nebraska.
Oh, okay.
So I just haven't had a chance to look through it and read through it, but
that'd be fascinating.
Everybody knows Hope was here. It's just there isn't like a whole heck of a lot written, if anything. And I know that there's something written somewhere because I read about it when I was doing my stories on Empire for the Star Herald, and I know I had meant to get back to it, and I never did, and I didn't save it, so I'm starting from scratch again, but I know that it's out there somewhere. So first and foremost, there's not much out there about Jefferson. He was born in Kentucky. I found another Jefferson in Jefferson. Let me start over. I found another Jefferson Davis Fugate who was born in Kentucky a few months after our Jefferson was born. And given that they were born in 1863, I get probably what his parents were thinking. And that's unfortunate for some children because they might grow up and not like the person they were named after, especially if it was someone famous.
There's probably plenty of those out there.
Yeah.
It's like, Mom, really? You named me this? Like, why?
Why'd you name that? Like, I have a friend named Marina, and I told her, I go, there's only one other Marina I've ever heard of. And she goes, yeah, I was named after Counselor Troy. My mom likes Star Trek. And I'm like, okay. And she's okay with it. It's a cool, different name, and it totally fits her. And when I think of the name Marina, I don't think of Counselor Troy. I think of my friend Marina. So there you go. So anyway, that's probably my guess as to why the name Jefferson Davis was popular at the time. So our Jefferson Davis was born in Schuyler County, Missouri on March 31st, 1863. And I'm going to talk a little bit about his parents because I was able to find a little bit of information about them. His parents were Elbert Mitchell Fugate and Nancy Clorinda Holcroft Fugate. Elbert was born on February 14th, 1838 in Russell County, Virginia, and Nancy was born on October 20th, 1838 in Vevey, Switzerland County, Indiana. I could not find any information how someone born in Virginia and Indiana got together and then ended up in Missouri to have their kids. I couldn't find that info, but somehow they did, and we got Jefferson Davis out of that. So Elbert came from an old Virginia family which took up residence in the state during its early settlement days, so his family's been here since the beginning. And Nancy is described as having all the gracious characteristics of the daughters of that state. That's it. We all
know what that means.
Yeah.
It's like you don't want to say it, but you know exactly what it means.
And you and I have been through this before about how women were treated, remembered, talked about. Mm-hmm. She was Mrs. Elbert Fugate. She didn't have her own agency. I didn't look too deeply into their history because I want to stay focused on Jefferson, but I did want to show that yet again, many people settled here from the East Coast. Where we live now, the big thing is, they're all Germans from Russia. Well, no, a lot of the early settlers in Scottsbluff County were not Germans from Russia. They were regular folks that came out here.
They were Germans from Germany.
Yeah, there you go. So as a kid, I was taught that all the people that settled out west were from the Midwest. So that's a failing of my education. And that anybody from the East Coast was rare. And you and I have done enough stories now, it wasn't rare. It was pretty common that you were from someplace back east. It wasn't even like Midwest back east, like East Coast east.
Yeah, that's the way I grew up, like understanding it, yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone kind of went from, there were people that went the other way, all the way around, came from California too. Mm-hmm. And then there was still Spain that owned their territories at the time. And we knew about that, but for our own like American history, yeah, it's all out east.
Yeah.
The original colonies, all that's out east.
Yep. So Jefferson had 6 siblings, and at the time that A History of Western Nebraska and Its People was published in 1921, this is a listing of where they were at. So Jefferson's oldest brother, James T., lived in Missouri. Charles W. lived in Greentop, Missouri, and then Jefferson, so he was the third oldest. And then he had a younger brother, Robert, who lived in Iowa. Isabella lived in Greentop, Missouri, and she was married to Jefferson D. Fowler. And William E. lived in Louvila, Iowa. And Drusilla lived in Greentop, Missouri, and was married to O.E. Campbell. So a lot of his family stayed in Missouri. Oh, she's liking you. Our little cat Erin just came over and put her paws up on Connor to be petted. And she's looking for some attention. All right.
Either that or I'm dying.
No.
What's that thing about cats? They always go up to people they don't usually go up to when they're dying.
I think she's finally used to you. It just took her a while.
That's good.
But she's used to seeing you come over now. I prefer the
former.
Yeah. I don't think you're dying. Do you want up? Come on. Do you want up? Come on. She always does the stretch
She's like,
before she
I'm gonna
comes
bug
up.
you guys.
So Jefferson's family, when he was younger, belonged to the Primitive Baptist Church, and they had a bit of money. If they were one of the original families and they were still around in the 1800s, they probably did have a bit of money. His dad, Albert, was a well-to-do farmer and was known as a man of means and weight in the community. So he's, kind of like a Hod Cosman. He's a mover and shaker in town, and if you need help getting stuff done, you go talk to Hod and ask who you need to talk to, what you can do to get stuff done. So Albert passed away on December 21st, 1918 at age 80 in Lovia, Monroe County, Iowa. His mother passed away on April 14th, 1907, so about 11 years earlier at age 68 in Schuyler County, Missouri. Both are buried in the Fugate Cemetery in Greentop, Schuyler County, Missouri. So most of the family was still in Greentop at this point in time. For whatever reason, after his dad moved to Iowa, but when he died, they buried him in the family cemetery. That's pretty much all we know about Jefferson's parents and siblings at the time. If I was going to do a whole story on this, I would write away to the government to try and get a grant so I could travel around the country and do a whole book on the dude.
Get into some libraries.
But I don't have that kind of time. Jefferson, however, was noted for how much he didn't stand out. Shumway wrote in his book, "The life of a professional or literary man seldom exhibits the striking or excellent incident that call public notice and fix attention upon a man. His character is generally made up of many qualities and qualifications which are necessary for the successful prosecution of his duties of his vocation, though such men are largely responsible for the formation of public opinion as they play such a large and important part in shaping it. Jefferson Fugate, editor and owner of the Henry Messenger, may not deviate from this general rule, but since attaining maturity, his life has been a full one, for he has had a varied career, has followed different occupations in several parts of Nebraska, for he has, in turn, been student, pharmacist, ranchman, promoter of a town, postmaster, and now the popular editor of one of the best edited sheets in western Nebraska. In these several fields, his versatility has assisted him to well-deserved prosperity." So when I read this, I thought there would be more out there about him.
Yeah, he seems like a good old guy.
Yeah.
But isn't that kind of how it works around here? I found that the people that I find the most fascinating, nobody knows about.
Yeah.
And they do everything. They're in the back works of all sorts of things. They got their fingers in all sorts of things, and you never hear about them.
Yep,
ever.
you never ever hear about them. And
the community college is an excellent example of that, actually. Mm-hmm. Like, look at the chairmans on the board and talk about any of them. I can't tell you a damn thing about any one of the chairmans on Western Nebraska Communities Board, but the college.
Yep.
And yet they do all the wonderful things that they do, and you don't ever hear about them.
No. Nope. I was thinking about this the other day, too, when I finished writing this. We don't have a lot of the Hispanic history here. No. And I don't even know if I have Marianne Shockley's number anymore, but she is instrumental in the Cinco de Mayo parade every year, and she teaches all those girls how to dance. And I think she stepped down a couple of years ago, but she's in her early 80s now, and she was a dancer. I was fortunate enough to interview her dad. He landed in Normandy on D-Day, and I was fortunate enough to interview him before he passed away.
Yeah, well, and we were just talking about Hope and Empire.
Yeah.
So the blacks, the Hispanics, the Japanese just got a lot of accolades and recognition from what they've recently done up at the Heritage Museum. They still have a long ways to go.
Yes.
And of course, everyone still forgets about the Native Americans.
Yes.
So it's just like, we have a long way to go as far as like history.
Yeah.
Proper scholarship of history in this community alone, in my opinion, would be just as diverse as any major city or metropolis.
Yes.
If
yes.
you really start to study it. There's so much culture here that has just been erased or destroyed or just whatever.
Or forgotten.
Lost to time.
Yeah.
Whatever you'd have it. But yeah, we really should get to know that better for sure.
Yeah. And I know when I worked at the paper until my second editor left. Ow, ow, ow. She just bit me. Until my second editor left, I was making some inroads in the Hispanic community and doing profiles on people. And they all have just as wonderful stories as anybody else, but no one wanted to go in. And I remember interviewing a lady. She understood English, but she was still working on her speaking English. So I took a friend of mine with me, and she translated for me. And it was just this absolutely fantastic article, and not only about the lady's life, but she ran away from an abusive spouse and came to America and sought asylum here and was granted asylum, and how that whole process works. And let's say I was married to you and we were both Venezuelan, and let's say you were abusive and I was trying to run away. Most women think, oh, I'm going to get sent back to Venezuela. But there's an avenue in immigration for that, because you're two separate people, you're two separate entities. And she knew that. She just didn't know what to do. And so, she went and she got in touch with some officials and was able to flee the country and move here, and she ended up here because she did have some relatives here. It's just a fantastic story, and again, she's a lady that is going to pass on, and the people in the community will know and remember the good things that she's done. But unless you find my article in the Star Herald, you'll never know that she even existed. And so that's kind of how I feel with people like Jefferson Davis Fugate. We need to tell those stories, and if we can find those little stories that nobody knows about, like even your flour mill, I had no idea that was there. And this is storytelling on the plains, and we're telling the stories of this area. And if that means a present day flour mill, I'll do that story. Because it's interesting and it's important to hear,
And I'll bring scones.
Yeah. Oh, you better save a scone and.
Well, yeah. Well, because if we're going to talk about it, we're going to have to bake some stuff,
Yeah.
Because otherwise,
just
in case it's not crap. I mean, I'm just saying.
I
hope it's good, but you never know.
You'll bake some stuff, and we'll be talking about the place, and then I'll make Paul come down here, and he'll be like, "Well, I'm British. I know what a scone should taste like." So anyway, I want to talk a little bit about Jefferson's career with the Henry Messenger. That piqued my interest right away. At the time, and I got a little confused in here because I think there were two little villages, and he moved from one little village to Henry, but it's not entirely clear. So hopefully I don't confuse anybody with this. At the time, the little village of Henry had two newspapers, the Henry Dispatch and the Henry Messenger. And if you go to Henry today, you will be shocked to even think about the fact that Henry had one paper, yet alone two.
It's a very cute little town, though.
Yeah.
I think I argue that you can't drive through it. You have to go down Old Henry Road coming down from the south to the north. You can't come through it through 26. If you really want to understand Henry, go down Old Henry Road coming south from Lyman.
Okay.
Like you go up
and go north.
And go north towards it. Because that's where they have the sign. They actually have the sign, the little village of Henry. And you go right into the downtown first before you see anything else. Because if you come at it from the highway side, you can miss the downtown. You don't even know there's one there. Because there is a little downtown community. So you kind of see what it was.
Right.
Like you see the skeleton of a city or a little town, village that used to be there.
Okay. I'm going to have to do that because I honestly have not done that. I moved here in 2007, and I have gone on the highway, and I've always turned right.
Right. You have to go
and head north because everything I needed, they're north.
There's something else about going from the south to the north that makes the whole perception of it different. Because there's like trees and like a little creek that you go across. It's actually really cute if you go that way.
And we're talking about trying to turn some of our podcasts into videos and having videos with the podcasts. That's just an excuse for me to go to Lyman and take out.
Going down roads the right way in Nebraska. That should be one of our side hustles there. It's like, go down this way. Yeah, otherwise, if you go down this way, it's going to look like shit. You're going to have to go down this way.
Yeah, you're going to miss it all. So the archives of the newspapers at Nebraska History, so I didn't have access to the archives, but I had access to the list of what they had. And they have the Henry Messenger running from January 30th, 1920 to August 27th, 1920, so eight months.
It didn't run very long.
Yeah, and the Dispatch seemed to run from January 6th, 1920 to September 28th, 1921, and this information is all on Microsoft Reels, so I'm not entirely sure if the newspaper's entire run was during that time. I've seen dates where the Henry Messenger was publishing in 1919, but that could be wrong too. I don't have access to that data and didn't really have time to spend weeks looking for it. And it's not too important. It just didn't run for very long, like not around a year. So Shumway's book was published a year after the Messenger seemed to shut down. So maybe the Messenger was still in print and the date's wrong at the Nebraska Archives, which I don't think they're wrong. But Shumway's book is also gigantic, and it takes a long time to edit that and get it to print. And it probably was still printing when he had written the book. And he felt it was a good newspaper and a worthy endeavor that Jefferson had embarked on, enough to mention it in the book. Even if the newspaper only lasted for a year, Shumway was impressed with what Jefferson was doing with the paper, even if it wasn't too successful. And maybe it was successful, but not successful enough. We just don't know. Again, it was hard to turn up solid, identifiable information without paying for access to it. And, as a human being, I do not have the time to chase down everything. You even find that, and I use Behind the Bastards as an example because I listen to it. But even Robert doesn't read. If he quotes from 5 different books, he hasn't read all of them completely. He's read parts of them because there just isn't time. And they churn out 2 episodes a week. And there just isn't time to do it all. If you want to see someone who takes the time to do it all, I also listen to the History of English podcast, and it's about the history of the English language.
That one's pretty cool.
And I absolutely love it. And every episode is so dense with information, but there is months between episodes because the guy takes his time to research things and get it all done before he moves on to the next thing. And, that's just not how I would like to do it, because I would rather do more stories with the information I can find so that more people know about this place and this area and the history gets remembered and talked about. And that's also why Crazy Horse is intimidating to me, because so much has been written about him. It's impossible for me to say, okay, I read book A, B, and C, and book B is good on this, but book C is good on this, but book A is the definitive. That it's just too hard. And like I said, I'm probably going to end up picking Joseph Marshall's book, and we'll just go through his book. Because it's a shorter book, but Joseph Marshall was Lakota. He looked up to Crazy Horse. It's written from the Lakota point of view, and I'm not a trained historian, And it's not that I don't care about the other books. It's just there is so much info out there that I would rather just sit and talk about. I've read the book twice now and the audiobook. I usually read a book and move on to the next book. And this book has had such an impression on me that I've been through it 3 times now. And I never do that. So that's probably where we'll end up with him. But back to Shumway, or back to Jefferson and Shumway. Shumway definitely thought the paper was a good thing. It just didn't last, and things like that happen. So regardless, Jefferson was born in the middle of the Civil War, and since his father had the money, he got educational advantages that his privilege provided. He had a better education than everybody because his dad had money. He went to public school near his home in the county. And then, according to Shumway, at an early age, he realized that a good education was one of the best equipments for the furtherance of his life's plan. So after finishing the grades, he entered the high school, pursued a full course, and after graduating, matriculated in the pharmacy department of Northwestern University in the city of Chicago. And today as well, Northwestern is still a prestigious university in this country. So he was, yes, his family had money, but you also got to do the work. At least at that point in time, you still needed to do the work. I believe you still need to do the work today. Being a good and conscientious student, he was in due time received his degree and was registered as a graduate pharmacist and licensed to practice in 1895. Now, pharmacists can make decent money. And back then, they could also make decent money. But not long after Jefferson had an established practice in Iowa, he worked there as a pharmacist until 1906. And while he was living there, so he graduates in 1895, and he works as a pharmacist in Iowa till 06, so 11 years? Yeah. And while he was living there, he met and married Susan M. Satterfield, and she was born on September 29th, 1865. I could not figure out where. Every place I wrote every place I read about, she was just born on this date. I guess just magically appeared in the world because I couldn't find anything where she was born. But anyway, Jefferson and Susan were married on May 15th, 1888, and Shumway noted that she was from Pike County, but that's all I could find about her.
Where is that? Just
Pike County.
1888?
1888,
oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They were married in 88.
88, okay.
So Shumway also...
I'm trying to get my dates right there.
That's okay. That's okay. Yeah, because I skipped ahead to 06, and then I said Wally... Yeah,
wait, what?
yeah. So Shumway also noted that they had one child, Maybelle, and...
Mabel.
Mabel?
Mabel. They didn't call her Maybelle. It's like, hey, Mabel. They're from the South, aren't they?
Yeah.
Mabel.
I'm just used to Mabel being Mabel, and she's Mabelle. That's why I went with that pronunciation.
Maybe we're more proper out here, but I don't see it.
Yeah.
Maybelle.
Mabel. Mabel.
Mabel, get over here, Mabel.
And she married William F. Young and lived in Bremerton, Washington. So she moved all the way to the coast. Interestingly, neither Jefferson's nor Susan's Find a Grave website listed any children, and I wasn't able to track down anything else about her. Shumway mentioned her in the book, and that's it. Not like a birthday, nothing. I couldn't find anything on her, and it's very odd that usually on the Find a Grave website, if a child is not listed, it's because they're dead or they died before they reached adulthood, and so they just weren't counted. But Shumway noted that she was married and lived in the state of Washington. So, yeah, who knows? It's just a little quirk of history. So while Jefferson appeared to be a decent pharmacist and it was a solid career, he learned that if he owned property, he could be more independent than his current career, which not only tied him to a place, but to one particular job, which was narrow in scope. And I don't know a lot about pharmacists, but I remember when I was a little kid, our pharmacy was literally a pharmacy. You know, you might have a couple of candy bars right there underneath the counter and some gum. But if you went on the shelves, there was Tylenol and aspirin and, what's that oil? Castor oil. More medical stuff. It wasn't like our pharmacies are today. And so I would imagine he might have felt a little pigeonholed in that one thing. I'm guessing because I didn't find anything else out about that. And even though it's a decent career and you're going to make money, you make more money if you own property. So
do anything for 11 years and see if you get sick of it.
Yeah.
That's the thing. He's done it for 11 years. That's more than I've held down probably any job in my life.
Same.
I can't imagine doing anything for over a decade.
And that's what I was thinking too, because the longest I've ever held a job is 6 years.
Yeah, so 11 years is pretty damn good.
Yeah.
If you want to do something else after 11 years of your life, go for it.
My mom got her job at the psychiatric center when she was 26, and she retired at 55 because the psych center was closing, and they were trying to reduce staff, and they offered her early retirement, and she kept saying no, and then they offered her a super nice retirement, and so she finally took it. But then she went to work at the hospital doing the exact same thing for another 10 years. I honestly don't know how she did it. I couldn't do it. And it's not that I got bored of the job. The jobs that I've had ended up not being challenging because I learned everything, but then you also get tired of the BS around it, and it's more the BS with the job, why I was always moving on. And I also, Jefferson apparently, according to Shumway, has moved all around Nebraska. I just moved all around the country every time I changed a job.
Same here.
So
I just moved somewhere else I wanted to go, which you can still do.
Yeah.
And that's, I suggest everybody not to be a slave to your wage. I mean, don't do that.
Yep.
Don't be that kind of person that gives 10 years of your life for a company that doesn't appreciate you.
Yep.
I mean,
and that will cut you the moment they can.
Yeah. And everybody has their own form of appreciation. Because I say that to military folk, but I know military friends of mine that would say the exact opposite. They'd be like, oh, no, do your 15 years there, retire, you'll have a wonderful life. I won't argue with their retirement plan, but at the same time, is it worth that time? That's all up to you.
Yeah.
It wasn't worth it to me.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I've had a couple people ask me if we are, able to support ourselves with this podcast, and I'm like, no, it's something fun we're doing.
No.
I'm like, no.
God, honey, I wish.
Yeah, we're still hoping, and maybe if we can get the.
I think this entire time we've made exactly 0 cents here.
Because we're
probably still in the negatives with how much we got out of it.
We need to recoup our initial investment still. So, no, we're not. I'm doing this for fun.
So, on a side note, go fund me at. No, just kidding.
Yeah. We do have a Patreon page, folks. You can go donate there if you want to. Or if you live in the Panhandle and you see either one of us, just put a 20 in our pocket. We'll be happy. So
I don't think anybody knows me. That's okay.
I'm finding more and more people don't know me anymore, which is nice. Yeah. Oh, it was annoying when I worked at the paper, and annoying in the sense that I have PTSD and I really don't. I'm not comfortable with strange people coming up to me and just starting conversations, because all my red flags go up, and because I have that trauma, it makes things worse. And they always start with, "Are you Irene North?" Oh, yeah. And I'm like leaning backwards.
Are you the IRS? Are you someone from the state? Because I don't want to talk to you.
So while I appreciated it, I also found it really uncomfortable.
I suppose.
And I'm just glad that it happens less often now.
We had that wonderful news anchor for the longest time here on KNEB, or God knows what it was called. But he would go into Walmart every now and then, and you would know it was him because he is almost like he never undressed as not an anchor.
Yeah.
Because he was in his anchor.
Was that Jerry Deschamps?
I'm terrible with names.
Okay.
I knew him as a young person because I think he passed away.
Yeah, he did pass away.
Yeah,
yep,
so I know him,
same guy.
I know him as a much younger guy, but yeah, he always came in looking like a news anchor, and yeah, you just see like a crowd of people like shake hands, wave at him. You thought that he was the mayor of the town between like how he was dressed and how everybody would come up to him. Yeah, you thought he was the mayor every time.
Yep. So I'm kind of glad I'm 5.5 years out of leaving the paper. So fewer and fewer people know who I am now, and I'm okay with it. And then the people that do know me, what are you up to now? So I'm like, go listen to my podcast and please give me money.
Listen to my podcast, give me money. All right, off with you now. Get out of here.
But I do this because I find these stories interesting, and this all started from you and I just chatting when we worked at the youth shelter together, and God, I kept
years
you there.
ago now. Oh my God.
Yeah, that was January. Actually, in December. So when this episode airs, I have to renew the website.
Oh.
And it said I bought the website in 2023.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
So
we'll do some sort of anniversary thing.
Yeah. So there you go. Anyway, Jefferson is still hanging out waiting for us to finish his story. I think if anybody was sitting here and we were interviewing him and just ignored him for 10 minutes, they'd be like, really?
I would totally be between two ferns and what we're doing now would be just perfect.
So Jefferson saw men were raking in cash in the West and purchasing land out there, and that's how they were getting rich, because the land was quickly becoming valuable. So there's dudes go out there, they buy a bunch of land, and it's becoming valuable, and then you can either do your own crops on it or sell it to somebody for more money than you paid for it. So he sat and thought for a while about his life growing up on a farm and decided to follow in his footsteps and buy some property and move out here. So he obtained a homestead in Scottsbluff County and moved out to the Panhandle. And I couldn't find any information about whether he even had a conversation with his wife about it.
Probably not.
No, he probably just said, so I bought some land out in Nebraska. What?
To be fair, I did that with my husband. I'm like, I'm going back home. You can either come with me or you can stay here. He came with me. Wasn't much of a conversation. It was just kind of more of a decision that got made.
And I mean, ours was sort of joint, but not really. It did end up being Paul's decision, but he hated living in New York. I hated living in New York. We had both liked Nebraska. So he papered the state with his resume because at the time, I wasn't working at the time because I couldn't find work because we were still in that phase where you have a college degree. Why do you want to work at Kmart? Because I like money. I just want to do a job. I don't care. Mm-hmm. And people didn't want to hire me because I had a degree.
People are still like that. They do that to me all the time.
Yeah, and it's
being quote unquote overqualified. Yeah.
So Gearing was the first place that offered him a position, and that was the only thing we agreed upon was, whoever is first in offering you a position, take it. And so that's how we ended up here. So yeah, it kind of was his decision, but I was also okay with coming back to Nebraska because I hated New York. If you make today $42,000 a year in Scottsbluff with just two people, it's doable.
You can still do it.
It's doable.
It's a comfortable life. You're a little strapped, but you're comfortable.
Yeah. So back in 2007 when we moved here, where we were living in New York, we were $2,000 below the poverty line.
Yeah. No, in New York,
Yeah.
40 some doesn't even get you a tree.
And there, and there was no chance at a better life there. It wasn't going to happen. It sucked.
Be like that Facebook Torrington thing I just saw. They're doing a 3-stall porta potty for $500 out in Torrington. That's about what that would get you out in New York for $47,000.
Yeah.
A 3-stall porta potty.
So he came out here. I forget what his wage was. I think it was like 37, 38 when we came out here in 2007. And it's much better than that now. And we own a house now. And we never would have bought a house. But
even 37 here now, you can live off of as a single man, as a single person, or as someone who was a single man. You could do that.
Yeah.
It's doable.
So we took a chance, and it mostly worked out. And it's hard to explain to people why it's worked out, because they always bring up the fact that Nebraska's a red state and then start asking me questions. Well, how can you live? I'm like, you know what? It doesn't because we're trying to stay away from that on our podcast. But
you close the shades.
Yeah, you close the shades and you stay home. But
honestly, if you're from a city life, how is it that I would ask the question right back to him? It's the same way you deal with anything in the city. With gunshots and sirens and cats screaming and people yelling. You close the doors and the windows and the shades.
And you go into your
find your happy space.
Yes.
It's no different out here.
Yeah. So, and my husband fell in love with the wide open spaces.
Yeah. See, that's the big difference. It's like, well, how do you put up with it? It's like we have a distance check. So if I do find a Republican, I try to get like 25 feet away from him, and then I start yelling, and he starts yelling, and we can't hear each other.
There you go.
It's a proximity thing, and everybody in Nebraska knows this from birth.
Yeah, there you go.
It's like a chip in our heads. It's like we know exactly how far to get away from someone else before we just bitch and rave about them. And then we get back together, and our proximity detectors go off. It's like, well, okay, we have to be nice. And it shoots dopamine in our brains, and then we're okay.
Yep. Yeah. And see, because I'm not from here.
You didn't get the chip.
Yeah, I didn't get the chip, so I just choose to walk away and come back to my house in my happy space, play with my cats, and write podcast episodes. Yeah. There you go. And my cat is like
so that's why the chip hunters haven't been after you yet. You've assimilated.
Yeah.
We let you guys go. I mean, if you can't do it, the chip guys are going to come after you.
They'll just show up.
That chip in the back of your neck. It'll get there.
Oh gosh. So I want to make an interesting note here. Shumway spells the county as one word, not two, as it's written. And one day I'll take a deep.
You're never gonna let this go.
I'll take a deep dive one day into that Mashugana, but today it's just it's just a mess. And there you go. There's my East Coast bits of Yiddish that I know.
There's a word I haven't heard for a while, Mashugana.
It's a polite way of saying it's
nonsense.
An effing mess.
Oh, no. I was being more polite than that.
Because I need to do an episode on it so I can let it go and not bring it up all the time. So Jefferson didn't waste any time once he arrived here in Scottsbluff County. He almost immediately began improving his land as well. And Shumway writes, he erected good and permanent farm buildings, built a comfortable home, proved up for 5 years, and was engaged in agricultural pursuits, finding that the practical experience he had gained as a boy came in more than handy now that he was a landed proprietor. And in case you haven't listened to any of our other stories about homesteaders out here, you got a homestead and you had to prove it up for 5 years. Basically, you had to be on the land for 5 years, and then it was yours.
And constantly make improvements? Some way, shape, or form?
Yeah, you had to make some kind of improvements. You couldn't just let the land sit there.
Yeah.
So Mr. Fugate was alive to every opportunity to make money and at the same time to assist in the development of this western country. And realizing the necessity of a village where the residents of his section could obtain supplies and sell their produce, he became one of the prime movers in the establishment of the town. I think he just saw the opportunity to make a bunch of money, and then when he got here, he's like, well, I can make more money because we ain't got a store, and we need crap, so let's have a store, and I'll make more money, while I'm also helping out my neighbors. So Jefferson, Susan, and say her name?
Mabel.
Were one of the first families to settle in the village, where they lived until 1912. On July 13th, 1912, they removed to Henry. Jefferson immediately jumped in feet first and became involved in all the business interests of Henry. So I don't know what this other little village he was in before they went.
Could have been Lyman.
It could have been.
Because Lyman's just down the road, and then Morrill's just down the road, too. So it could have been Morrill, could have been Lyman.
And I couldn't figure out which one it was, but then he ended up in Henry.
And Henry kind of makes sense at the time, even where it is now. It's next to the river, for those who don't know. More to the river than, the only towns close to the river really are, I think, Scottsbluff and Gering. Like, Henry's kind of butted up right next to the river. So you had a lot of advantages being down there.
Yeah. On September 14th, 1914, he was appointed postmaster, an office which he has efficiently filled up to the present time. Since assuming office, he has inaugurated many reforms which have tended to facilitate and expedite the handling of mail, which was proved of great value to residents. So he was really good at being a postmaster, and for those of us who are adjusted to the comfortable life of instant messages, and, if I want to write you a longer letter, I can still do it in email, and you'll have it, a few seconds later. Getting mail out here in the middle of nowhere was just a precious thing, and he was apparently very good at getting the mail, sorting it, and getting it out to people so that, they could have that communication with the outside. Well, I don't know if outside world's the right word, but it is a fairly remote location, even in 1914. It's a little better than, the 1700s, but it's still a little remote, and mail is the way you're going to learn stuff, other than your newspaper subscription. And he started his own newspaper, so at least he had a go at that. It's the same thing with, I left the newspaper. I went and worked at the shelter for 4 years, and then I was approached to write for Inspire Today, and it just became overwhelming and too much for me. But I still had the ability to tell those stories. I just need to tell them on my timeline. And we had started the podcast by then. And this is just the best fit for me because I can do the stories on my own timeline and not have that massive pressure anymore. And so I think, at least I tried to see if I could still do it. And to him, he was like, hey, we need another newspaper. And at least he tried it, It didn't last very long, but he tried. And if you don't try, you're going to sit regretting your whole life. Mm-hmm. So realizing of what benefit a well-conducted newspaper would be in this thriving community in 1917, Mr. Fugate established the Henry Messenger, which has grown rapidly and now has a wide circulation in the immediate vicinity of the town and also up and down the valley, showing what success it has attained under his able management. So Shumway's indicating 1917, and if that's the case, then it lasted for about 5 years. Again, I couldn't really find any info with definitive dates. It is bright, clean, enterprising, and wholesome, and has gained many fast friends among the reading public, being also well deserving of the support it receives as an advertising medium. In connection with the newspaper, Mr. Fugate conducts an up-to-date job printing office. I also wanted to mention, when my husband was a kid in England, every day after school he walked, he says, up the hill, but he had to go to the end of the block, turn left, and then up at the top of the hill. So it was like 2 blocks away was the library. And every day after school, my husband would go there and read 5 or 6 different newspapers. And I would suppose that probably at the time you had, I think the Republican was publishing in Scottsbluff. You had the Star Herald, you had the Gearing paper, you had the Morrill paper, and now you got 2 Henry papers. It wouldn't surprise me if there were people up there in Henry that read all 6 newspapers every time they came out.
Oh,
you know?
sure.
It was
because at this time you still had everything else of business going. You had the stocks, you had you had Wall Street going on, and even when you're out here, people paid attention to that, and they wanted to know about the world, the news, the war, especially around 1939 and 1912,
or 19 area. Yeah.
Sorry, the 1916 area.
16, 17, yeah, you got World War I.
So World War I's just is already happening just around the corner. So yeah, you just I could imagine. I can actually imagine the war probably kept the publishing house open a lot longer.
Yeah. So, and if we could still do it, my husband would still have several print subscriptions. When we moved here in 2007, he had a subscription to the Omaha World Herald, the Denver Post, and the Star Herald. And those were all daily newspapers, and he read them every day. And he was upset when the other 2 pulled out of town. And then I
could see a lot of people being kind of disturbed about that. It's the end of an era. You know, newspapers have been around longer than the radio. To see them go away after the radio is jarring, I think, to a lot of people.
Yeah. So, like I mentioned before, I wasn't able to find too much more about the Henry Messenger. I'll do an episode just on the paper. I'd still like to do an episode just on the paper if I could find out some more info, but I need to do some digging. And it was one thing that I never had the time either when I wrote for the paper. I wanted to do a story on all of the newspapers in the Panhandle. And I just never had time because that was considered a fun thing you do when your other stuff was done. And unfortunately, the time period that I was at the paper with, my last editor was just like, no, you just need to do this and this, 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 this. When I was hired, I had one beat, and it was the health beat. If it was health-related, write a story. It was very much, I don't want to say an easy job, but it was easy in the sense that it's health-related. I have to write 6 stories a week, and then in my free time, I could do things like this. And by the time I had my last editor, I had 13 beats. When I quit the newspaper, I had 13 different beats. I couldn't even keep up with the beats, yet alone try and find spare time to do research on this. But now I do have spare time, and I'm not going to do, this is an idea that's probably like a year out because of what we're going to be doing in the next 4 months. But I don't want to do just one newspaper. I want to do a series on all the newspapers. And just looking online, there's not a lot of info, so I'm going to have to head down to Legacy and see if they have anything. Because as far as I know from being there in the past, I don't think they do. But they're when the 2 museums merged into Legacy of the Plains, a lot of stuff got put in the archives, and it was just, oh, there's a free space on the shelf. Oh, there's some free space. Oh, there's some free space. So there is a little bit of a sense of they don't know everything they have, but they kind of do know what they have. They just might not know where it's at. And the last time I was, it's probably been 2 months since I was in the archives. It's very cleaned up. They've got probably 30% of the room cleaned up and organized, and it's run entirely on volunteers. So it's a slow process. If it was a job, like if they were paying you and me, I don't know, $50,000 a year each to do it, we'd have that done in no time. But it's with volunteers when they have time to do stuff, and it is getting there. So they might have some information that they just didn't know that they had, and I'll shoot off an email and just be like, whenever you can find some of that info, just let me know. And so it seems like Henry was to Jefferson's liking, and he was really involved in town. He and Susan were members of the Methodist Episcopal Church, and Shumway noted that they were liberal supporters, which is an indication that they had a great deal of money to the church. This is not the liberal as in liberal versus conservative in politics. This is the liberal in they gave when they could. And every time somebody came and said, the church needs such and such, all right, what do you need me to do? That kind of liberal supporters. In the early 1900s, the Democratic and Republicans were completely different things, almost opposite. We've kind of mentioned that before. Yeah.
Even this flour mill thing that I reminded you of, it was called the Grand Republic because of the Civil War. They were actually refugees from the Civil War. I got that little tidbit of information from them. So, at least the families who started this out in Hull were. So that kind of gives you, Republic, Democrat. Don't get hung up on those words when we talk about Republican and Democrat in the 1900s. It doesn't mean anything to you now.
But this is liberal in the sense that I gave liberally. Like if Connor said, hey, I need $5, and I was like, here's 500. That kind of liberally supporting something. Connor, I'm sorry, I don't have $500, so need to make money on my podcast first.
We're trying.
Well, okay, we're making jokes about it, but man, that annoys me on every video. Don't forget to subscribe and like and
subscribe and like our podcast.
Yes,
hit the bell to subscribe.
I hate that.
I think I'm just going to make fun of that if we ever do get our YouTube
we absolutely need to make fun of it. There's another YouTube channel that I do follow. I don't follow many, but it's called Lollipop Man Comics, and it's all based about Formula One. And the Lollipop Man in England is your crossing guard. And so Formula One used to have a Lollipop Man. So the driver would come into the pit box, they'd change the tires, and there's a dude standing in front of them with literally this long staff with a circle on the end of it, and he would watch, and once all the tires were changed, he'd lift it up and the dudes would go out. It's all electronic now, so that's why they named it Lollipop Man Comics, and they do these hilarious cartoon recaps of the race weeks, and they're really good about incorporating that ingenious stuff about liking and subscribing into it, and I don't mind it so much on their comic because they're also kind of poking fun at it, and it's not obnoxious. Anyway, so I lost my place here again after we talk about what liberal supporters.
He and Susan were members of the Methodist Church, right?
Yep. And he was also a member of the Democratic Party and a Mason. And again, remember the parties were flipped back then. So he
but not the Masons.
No, the Masons are still the Masons. And if I really wanted to find more stuff out about him, I would probably have to contact a Masonic lodge. They probably have logs.
Masons disappoint people. I wish they were as mysterious as they pretend to be, but they're really not. They're like the Rotarian Club or like the Elks Club or the VFW or any of those other things you go into. You're just like, oh, this is like, like I have to run a business and give my money to charity. Got it.
And in order to get support from Mr. Bigwig over there, I got to become a Mason and hang out in his club. Okay, they're not as. Yeah.
The interesting thing I did hear about Masonic lodges, it really is dependent upon, when it comes to that, political elbow rubbing, depending on how big the county is and the demographic of who's in it. Because I guess one thing I've heard that Mason invokees, people who want to become Masons, whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
You have to come in for your lodges with like not a speech, but like I don't even want to call it what we're doing now, because it's something like for the enhancement of mankind. You have to talk about something that enhances mankind. Okay. So if you have an agricultural project or an idea about medicine or how funds should be redistributed, it could be about anything. But that's the kind of thing you have to prevent time after time after time again to even become a Mason, because you really have to be a forward thinker.
Okay.
So I shouldn't say it's just about charity. It does kind of naturally lead into politics because of how it's set up. Mm-hmm. And I believe the Rotarians and even the Shriners are the same way. When you go in there, you need some ideas. You can't just have money. You can't be a fool like me that likes the hats and the little cars, and therefore I want to be a Shriner. No, you got to put a little bit more effort into it. So I wish to give them the credit that they deserve as charities, as forward thinkers.
Yeah, but because they had secret handshakes, people were like, ooh. Yeah.
Which, for the Masons, I love that they're like, oh, the mysterious about Masons, and nothing about the Shriners. The Shriners are far more interesting and mysterious, in my opinion, than any Masons. Do you see what they do and what they drive and the hospitals they make? I mean, like, seriously.
And
you guys are into the wrong shit. And you got a bunch of white dudes wearing fezzes with a sun and swords across it, and you guys want to go after the Masons. Like, really? But these guys and the tiny cars. They actually did a better one. I'm really going off on a tangent.
That's okay.
Here, but we're going off on a Shriners tangent because you know what? I just saw our parade in Scottsbluff.
So I
we're
read
dating
about
this. So I know we're dating this. So this happened last week. This was November 20-something.
Yeah.
And it was early for me because usually...
Because it was before Thanksgiving, yeah.
It was quite a bit before Thanksgiving. And they did it. It was wonderful, and it was a beautiful day. But over the years, the tiny little Shriners cars, they've gone out for many reasons, accidents, crashes, people found them uncomfortable. So this time, they had something that looked, I can only describe it as a chopper. It had a big wheel on it, and it looked like a tiny little go-kart hooked to the end with like a lawnmower, but then like a big old wheel, like a chopper. Mm-hmm. And that's what the Shriners were driving this time. So they've upgraded. And again, you guys are asking the wrong questions about the Masons. It's like, wait, who designed this? Like, was this one of the meetings that they were talking about?
Yeah.
Because that would have been cool to learn how to make.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So did you get any pictures of that weird car?
None of them, because I had my own dog with me, and the crowd was ridiculous that night because it was beautiful.
Yeah.
So I barely got up to the curb. There was like kids, so I just kind of like did a little head pop and like, oh, that's cool. There's probably some footage because there was a drone that kind of came by.
Yeah, but then you got to license it and stuff if you're going to put it in the podcast. Unless you know somebody who took a picture that doesn't care and gives you the photo.
And I'm terrible about that. I'm not a photographer because I don't even think I took my phone that night. Okay. I was too worried about losing it.
Yeah.
Because I was all dressed up in my ugly Christmas sweater, and I had my pajama pants on, which pajama pants don't carry wallets very well or phones, so I just kept it home.
I wish I had even known about this so that I could stalk that parade and get a picture of you dressed like that.
It was good. Me and Jason both. We do I had my ugly Christmas sweater on, which was fabulous. It had bells and jingles, and I had a little jingler on my little pup. She was walking with me. We got lots of comments. Lots of comments. Lots of dirty looks too, but fuck them.
Yeah, screw that. It's about having fun. But I didn't even know that the parade was going on until I read about it this morning. I
only knew about it because I happened to be with a friend who did the O'Reilly's. Why do I keep saying Bill O'Reilly? The O'Reilly's float.
Oh, okay. The
auto
parts store.
We happened to be friends, and they just told me about it. I'm like, and I was just as surprised. I'm like, what are you talking about? The parade's supposed to be after Thanksgiving or on the day of Thanksgiving, like Thanksgiving night, whatever. I'm like, nope, it's going on now. It's like, okay,
I'll be there. Go.
And I did. I dragged Jason's like, no, we're going. I love the parade. It's the largest one we have, I think, in my opinion. Yeah. As far as parades go, it's the largest one. We had marching bands. Coca-Cola comes up with all their lit up trucks, fire department, of course, and all that. So no, it's good.
Yeah, cool. And my takeaway from this is Connor likes the little fez hats, and when I go to Egypt in 2 years, I know what I'm bringing Connor back.
I love those hats. I can't wear one nowadays, cultural correctness and all that.
Yeah,
I don't
but
know
I can still buy one.
It's still pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you can wear it, and you'd be like, this was made in Egypt. You can go down that road.
This is passed down to me by this guy.
Yeah. This guy, I don't know his name. He made it for me. Just special. So back to Jefferson and finish him up. Susan passed away on January 31st, 1939, age 73, and Jefferson passed on February 12th, 1945, age 81. And while Susan's place of death isn't listed, Jefferson's is, and it's in Gearing. My guess would be she might be buried with him. I honestly, it just went in my head that I probably should have driven down to the cemetery in Gearing to see. So I'm not sure if he moved to Gearing and that's why he was buried in Gearing Cemetery, or because Henry was such a small village that Gearing is listed because it's the county seats. I'm not sure, but I did find a place that they're both buried in the West Lawn Cemetery in Gearing. So even though hers isn't listed, it was a confusing way for me to find that out. And you don't have to anymore because I did all that hard work and got confused to death on it. But they're both down there in Gearing. And they're dead. And they didn't go to his family plot in Missouri.
And they're dead.
They're dead. For her, we're coming up close to 100 years, 39, But anyway, these guys were just little interesting people, and it seems like Jefferson was pretty influential in the early years of Henry. And nobody knows who he was or talks about him, and there's not that much information about the newspaper that he started. But he just seemed, no matter where he moved, he was invested in what he was doing. And I don't think being a pharmacist was, I don't like to use the word calling, but it just seemed like he went to college and became a pharmacist because it was a good paying job.
Yeah.
And it just...
I'm right there.
Yeah.
It's like,
and
you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah. And I have run into that from many people over the years. Why didn't I study this? Why didn't I study that? And I'm like,
because either my teachers didn't tell me or I didn't listen to my teachers.
I'll go with the first one. It was
because I've seen in the past that there's teachers that told me, Connor, this profession is kind of a 50-50,
Yeah. I had zero support. I knew I wanted to go to college. I kind of knew what I wanted to study, but college was a way for me out of the abuse of New York, and so I used it for that. And then I know now, I didn't know at the time, that it wasn't a case of I was stupid. It was a case of my trauma was preventing me from doing a lot of things. And so I just took on jobs that looked interesting and did those for a while. And then when the BS surrounding the job got to be too much, I left and went to another job. And a lot of times that involved moving. I moved around a bunch as a kid, but always in my hometown. And then I did Nebraska, back to my hometown, back to Nebraska. So I did Lincoln, Nebraska, back to my hometown, back to Lincoln, Nebraska, back to Binghamton for my husband to get a master's degree, then to North Carolina, then to Poughkeepsie, New York, and then here. So I've moved around quite a bit and, just looked for better opportunities where I could find them. And that seems to me what Jefferson did as well. And that was also part of the allure to me to telling his story, as he went to school and became a pharmacist. I have a bachelor's degree in anthropology, quite a difference, but he still went to school and did that for 11 years and wasn't entirely happy and was like, hey, I can go do this other thing and make some money and have a decent life. And then it just seemed like when he got out here, he moved to Henry and was like, hey, I can make more money actually helping my neighbors and I can build something here. And that's sort of my thought idea on this podcast too, is I can build something and it'll be here after I'm gone, and someone else will come along in the future and hopefully build on what I've done, and it's all good, it's all cool. But that was my allure to this guy. I want to say that's what my attraction was to this guy, but I don't want people to misconstrue, like the whole liberal thing. It's not like I was like, oh, I'm attracted. It's not that kind of attraction. I was attracted to the way that his life kind of unfolded is sort of like the way my life unfolded. And this is what I do now, and hopefully people learn something new and enjoy my ramblings, and Connor occasionally joining in. We are about to embark on a big multi-piece thing. I have all the notes together for talking about the history of theaters in western Nebraska.
Because we had a big thing happen, but we'll just wait probably till next time to see what happened.
And hopefully I don't miss anything, don't screw anything up. I'm a little nervous about it, but I think it'll be all right. Mm-hmm. And hopefully y'all will spend the next 4 or 5 weeks with us talking about the history of theaters out here. And then we got some things planned for January as well. I'm not going to tell you what those are.
You just have to find out.
Yeah. And then February, we got a couple of things for Black History Month. Mm-hmm. And I know in the future someone will probably listen to those episodes in July, but we're doing them in February, and I'm doing it on purpose in February.
Yeah.
Because it's Black History Month, and because we put the episodes out on Wednesdays, we got 4 solid weeks of episodes. Mm-hmm. We don't get shafted on that. And then I debated on, because March is technically Women's History Month, I debated on filling up March with just profiles on women out here, that if I can find anything. That gives me December, January, February, March. That gives me like 3 months to find 4 weeks worth of women, because we've already done Dr. Fix.
And Wee Granny. We've done several great women here.
Yeah, so...
but there's still quite a bit more.
Yeah, and there, when I was talking to Jerry a couple of weeks ago, Buffalo Calf Woman, I think that's her name. She's pretty famous Native American in this area. I believe.
Yeah, we definitely have to find her.
Yeah, I believe she's Lakota. I don't think she's Cheyenne, but I don't want to say for sure till I can remember for sure. But she's someone that we could do. We'll find somebody. March is a little ways away. We got to get through our theater episodes, so hopefully y'all come back to learn about the history of theaters out here, and we're going to begin with the very earliest beginnings. That was an opera house, and you'll get to learn about me crunching through pigeon poop. So come back next time for that. For now, I'm Irene.
And I'm Connor.
And this is Storytelling on the Plains.